All right, cool. We're live. Well, we'll kick it off with Tim talking about Module 5's agenda. Go ahead, man.
All right. Hey, guys. First item on the agenda, what types of cultures have you experienced in the workplace, like positive, negative, engaging, entertaining? I wrote some notes, kind of in my experience. I do work in a real estate office, and I do consider myself lucky. I've found myself to be in an office where kind of the culture inside the workplace, I do have a manager who I've felt I'm lucky to have is very engaging, very positive, is always reinforcing positive motivational objectives to everyone in the office. She cares about everyone's success, I do feel grateful for that because it is an industry where you talk a lot amongst your peers and from other offices, and sometimes you hear about other people that are in offices that are very bland, very blah. Very dull cultures that they aren't engaging whatsoever. So I do consider myself lucky in that aspect. Kind of going into the second part. Do you believe leaders shape culture? My instant reaction to that was absolutely no question. I think a good leader does shape their culture. Kind of from the top, and it trickles down through all the employees. Let's see. I think the text goes into a little further about how good leaders have the ability to, set the precedent for how people treat one another, what language they use with one another, and essentially how the organization is structured, which in return kind of sets the basis for the culture that does exist. So in my mind, that was almost kind of like a no-brainer to me. Absolutely, I thought so. All right, Phil, if you want to go.
Cool, man. Thanks. Yeah. So as far as my thoughts on organizational culture, I think it's an imperative part of any organization, really, regardless of industry, and that's coming from a guy too. I'm just to speak for myself. I'm a very task-oriented kind of a person, but the culture and essentially that relationship orientation that kind of builds what that culture consists of is really the backbone of any organization, and that kind of flows into some of the cultures that I've experienced in different workplaces, and I've my applications or my experiences have varied a ton. From the military and then doing like State Department contract work, it's kind of a lot of it as far as how you interact with the leadership, it's pretty negative. There's a lot of like negative reinforcement and stuff. But then there's a whole subculture beneath that layer that is essentially that is very positive, and then doing contract work with corporations to see corporate culture, especially coming from not really working in a corporate office. I've literally never had an 8 to 5 my entire life. God, I'm sorry. I have no idea how to turn this shit off. So it's, doing some contract work for corporations has been really interesting because you get to experience a lot of what that culture looks like, which is really different than what I'm used to. And then I have a gym also. So then that culture is like its own thing. And there's a huge community aspect to that. So to kind of wrap up about how a leader can shape the culture, or if a leader can shape the culture, I think absolutely yes. And I've been on both ends of this too, but the one thing that really popped out to me with this question was just how true that is in my own gym. And the less I'm on the floor and a part of the community, the more that affects the culture. And I've actually had members tell me that my lack of a presence day to day at my gym has negatively impacted my culture. And I don't mean to say that to sound like I'm just like the best thing that ever happened to my own gym, but I think I was a very charismatic leader, at least to a lot of people for a while. So then not being there, I think it's unfortunately negatively impacted the gym. So I know for a fact that leaders can shape culture for better or for worse. So Ben, go ahead, man, your turn.
Yeah, Phil, I'm kind of going to follow your same format. So my thoughts on organizational culture is the reading describes basically page 252. A tribe, it's basically that it resembles a tribe, organizational culture. So across the world, obviously, there's a number of different tribes. They all carry different rituals, symbols, practices, the language they speak, and so forth. And it's really the same with organizational culture, and it kind of varies and depends on what approach you're going to go. I got a buddy that I know that works the 60-hour week. They work hard, but then their reward and their kind of practice and ritual is, and even the leaders know it, is you play hard. So Friday, Saturday, they obviously go out and they kind of interact with whatever nightlife kind of we have an imagination of that. But then also, if you ever think about it, I don't know if anyone's ever experienced Dutch Bros. It's like this coffee shop. It's really, really out there. I know there's one in Boise, Idaho, where I used to go visit some friends. And it's got this organizational kind of culture. It gives me that Zappos laissez-faire, the fact you pull up to get your coffee and there's weird trance music playing or Phil Collins or just strange stuff like that. And there's really no set leader or lead, but they're going to be there. And that's just how they operate. And regardless if it's my friend doing the 60-hour week or the laissez-faire of Dutch Bros, it's getting the job done. And that's kind of their culture and their rituals. So in regards to the second question, what I've experienced, so at my job, it's really cool. The organization that ultimately my boss created, it's this kind of family environment. It's this culture where everyone's kind of together as one. And I don't know if it's the fact that we have a lot of Pacific Islanders that work under us as followers, and the fact that that kind of group is more collective, where they believe in respecting their elders. So although I'm not necessarily an elder in age, it's my status that puts me as a leader, and they give me a lot of respect. And ultimately, there's the unity. And another thing with that family regards is generally, I find it interesting, and it was kind of a culture shock my first time as a leader. There's not the typical handshake or fist bump on a good job or, the ending of a shift or hello. There's lots of hugs and stuff. So sometimes I find it a little bit awkward with how close we are. And then it comes to, I've had to terminate employees, my followers, and it gets very emotional because now you're saying bye to a sense one of your family members. So in the end, I believe leaders do have the power to shape the culture. And a big part of that is how I just mentioned with the family aspect. You really gotta care for them. You gotta have genuine concern for your followers. The fact that, at the end of the day, it's a job, but you gotta ask them, how's their wife, how's their child, how's their family, how's their health, is mom and dad all right? Because with that, they might have a passing in the funeral. And if we have that family culture, more than likely, due to the fact that we're kind of a group like that, I'll attend their funeral of the loved one, or I'll go to a wedding, or whatever the case may be. Because again, it's all about the job. But if we treat our employees and our followers appropriately and have genuinely concern for them, I think, and I guess not retaliation, but kind of a go around, coming back around, they'll take care of the organization. Ultimately, you and production will improve. So thanks, guys.
Alrighty, so sorry, I'm sick. So kind of going on what Benjamin and Philip said about how culture is pretty much like a tribe. Everyone is, they're a tribe. And so I know I'm Native American. I know I don't look like it whatsoever, but every summer I go to Montana and we always do these rituals, which are always fun, but obviously I don't do them a whole lot, but it's something that my culture and my tribe does, which is always kind of cool. But I know, like Starbucks related, I am a manager, so I always am talking and greeting with the customers. So I try to make that tribe, that unit together with everyone and get everyone involved as a tribe and communicating and everyone. But I do believe that all leaders are shaping. So if I walk in with like a happy attitude or whatnot, it will change everyone else's. Or a few weeks ago, my manager, they had to put their dog down and they just got him about 6 months ago. And she came in not so happy. Everyone knew something was up, but she wasn't really saying everything. And it completely changed once she started opening up. Everyone else started being a little bit happier. The customers started changing. You could totally tell that once her attitude changed, everyone else's attitudes changed. The customers changed. They started being bitchier. Everyone else started being bitchier. It was just a hellhole. So once her attitude changed, everyone else's was, and it was nice. And so I do think that the leaders completely change and shape the culture, from Starbucks to even like a small little Native American like tribe. So yeah.
All right. So for me, I decided to talk about when I was working at Togo's back in the like a few years ago, and I had a manager who was, I guess, a leader, I'd say, and I definitely thought he shaped our culture or like our environment of how we worked because we were all cohesive. We all worked really well together. Everyone was kind of friends, and then we got new management and a new owner came in and it just all changed. And I would say the culture went from being positive to being kind of negative. Like she was saying, like everyone just kind of became like bitchy and just like not cool with each other, and it just wasn't very fun to be around. And I eventually ended up quitting because of it. I just didn't like it. It wasn't fun to be around. And I would say the leader and slash like manager owner, they definitely had a big impact on the culture within like our workplace, and them leaving was a big change and it really affected the way things operated. And it's funny because I looked at Yelp after I left and all the reviews got super bad and negative. They went from like being good, positive, and they all got really bad, and they just slowly went down and they actually closed down. It's pretty funny. And I just think that they definitely have a big impact on the culture and the way things are shaped and the way things work. And it's like people are saying, like you guys are saying, it's like a tribe and like it's like a family, and the family kind of got broken apart when new leaders came in with a new culture type deal. I don't know, that's what I thought. And that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Charlie. So right now our stopwatch, we're at about 11:45. So we have a few minutes for some closing thoughts if anyone wants to kind of chime in with any additional input.
I had something and then it totally escaped my mind. Sorry.
No, it's good. Well, hey, I mean, I'll piggyback on what Charlie was saying. Just kind of jotting notes down when you guys were chatting because there's a lot of ways you can go. But I think you're right, Charlie. You're just kind of talking about how new leadership came in and it totally changed everything. And I've seen that in a lot of places. And with that Zappos video, they were kind of talking about how it wasn't about having a lot of amenities. It was about creating that culture. And I think that's true whether you're talking about a corporate environment or just having a good time with your friends. Like, I mean, I'm convinced that it has everything to do with the relationships that the people are around. I think regardless of the industry, like enjoying where you are every day and enjoying your interactions and who you're working with, it really transcends a lot of what you do specifically day to day. And you can be in a nice place or you can have nice things, but if the people around you suck, you're just going to have a shitty time. And that's true whether you're on vacation with people or whether you're at your job every day, So, I mean, I think that culture aspect is like, it's huge when it comes to enjoying your work life.
Yeah, I was going to say also, Charlie, that your example was probably a good example of showing how a culture from one, I guess, owner or manager to the other really changed that from a positive culture to a negative, and the employees didn't change. It was just someone up above who really changed the culture. So I thought that was good.
Yeah, I'll kind of add into a point as well. I think it was Keeley, you were talking about the fact that there was that individual at work where they were down in the dumps per se because the dog was going to get put down or whatever the case may be, and everyone kind of felt that attitude and they could sense that presence and that being. And that's something as leaders that we have influence over our followers. The fact that they look to you, and if you come in a sour mood, if you're tired, hungover, got in a fight, whatever the case is, that's going to reflect, and they're going to kind of go the same route where it's like, okay, my leader, the one that I turn to, the one that has influence over me is down, necessarily the day is not going to be productive, or I'm not going to have that same enthusiasm. So something that's actually happened with me with my job is, the airlines, if you guys have flown, it's weather, mechanical, everything gets jacked up all the time. So there's days we walk in, the schedule's not perfect. We're going to have multiple aircrafts on the ground, heavy offloads, it's just a nightmare. And I've walked in sometimes and had this sour look on my face, and I've seen my followers look at the same way and go, all right, well, it's going to be a crappy day because the boss is engaged in it. The leader isn't ready for it. It's not going with this confidence and this fact that, hey, you know what? we just got to tighten up our belt, you know, a little bit more snug, and let's go do work. Let's be a family and a unit, and we'll operate accordingly. So as leaders, we have a massive influence. So you just got to approach every situation with as much enthusiasm and optimism as possible. And hopefully hopefully the followers will follow suit. And, you know, you continue to build them as, you know, you're their role model, continue to build them and show them how leaders should act and how it should ultimately get done to take care of business.
No, that's a great additional point, man.
Great.
Hey, we're kind of at our time limit, guys. So I think that's going to be about all she wrote.
All right. Sounds good.
I appreciate your guys' input. Good week.
Absolutely.
Cool, guys. Have a good week. See you guys next Tuesday.
Sounds good, brother.
Have a good week, guys.